Welcome into the Cowboys Report live once again as we get set up for week 2 of the NFL Preseason on Saturday. Break down a bunch of Cowboys updates for you on today's show. Got producer Stone behind the scenes. Once again, I am Tom Downey. And as we continue along with our off-season, we are doing the latest round of Cowboys legend voting. We are at linebacker right now. So 5 options to vote for, 4 of which exist in the pin poll. There's Jason Williams, who was the top pick of that special teams draft from a couple years ago. The guy was like 15 picks and like none of the top 70 or whatever, and they were all terrible. Darren Hambrick, I put him in here mostly because a chance for both Hambricks to be in the Ring of Honor for the Cowboys legends. Bobby Carpenter is in there. I would not be surprised if he gets a lot of votes. Zach Thomas as well. And then Jasper Brinkley is your like, who? Option in there. So JW, DH, BC, ZT, or JB of the 5 there. I think it's going to be a 2-man race between mostly Bobby Carpenter and Zach Thomas. And for 2 very different reasons. Carpenter was a first-round pick. He was a bust. Zach Thomas is an NFL Hall of Famer, but nobody remembers him for, like, the Cowboys. You mentioned Zach Thomas, you think Dolphins. Every single person, I think even mostly Cowboys fans, go, oh yeah, Dolphins, not Cowboys. That's what makes him a true and diehard Cowboys legend. So get those votes in, JW, DH, BC, ZT, or JB. Right now, 37% voting for Bobby Carpenter, 35% voting for Zach Thomas, 17% for Jason Williams, 10% for Darren Hambrick and Jasper Brinkley combined. I would vote for Zach Thomas myself because I think it's funny. Like, NFL Hall of Famer. Wait, for the Cowboys? Wasn't he his last stop in the NFL, by the way, which makes it all the better there. King Rezox, I thought he was even with the team for a little bit. Yeah, spent 1 year here. It's kind of like how Reggie Wayne, Patriots legend. You remember that, Stone? He was there for like 2 months. Frank Gore briefly signed with the Philadelphia Eagles type of deal, which it wasn't actually official, but still. JW, DH, BC, ZT, or JB for Jasper Brinkley. Let me know in the comment section of today's show who you guys would go with there. See some BCs, ZTs, most of those guys getting the majority of the votes, which I think is perfectly understandable and fair and certainly tracks given just the name recognition to an extent. Like, no one knows who Jasper Brinkley is. I do, but I'm a sick man, and quite literally I actually do feel kind of sick today. All right, today's show is made possible by Rocket Money. How much do you think you're paying in subscriptions every month? The answer is probably more than you think. Over 74% of people have subscriptions they've forgotten about. I know I did. I was getting double charged for a phone bill, which has been a pain in the butt to handle there. But thanks to Rocket Money, I'm no longer wasting money on the ones that I've forgotten about. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. They will even try to negotiate to lower your bills for you, sometimes by up to 20%. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. That's rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. It's rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. Super chat from We Don't Wife These 304s. Quick aside, by the way, we're going to do welfare check on my boy Trace. Justin Simmons to the Falcons. 1 year, $8 million deal. Need a welfare check on @Trace. Because he's going to be in shambles. Trace, if you don't know, is our Saints fan. He's going to be going through it. Because he wanted Justin Simmons real bad, and he's going to the Falcons now. All right, back to the super chat here from We Don't Wife These 304s. The Cowboys have cap issues. Carton sucks. They will tell you they have salary cap issues. Now, truly, the issues are actually very fixable and self-inflicted. You could, I don't know why there's the damn bots in the comments again, so just beat a block them. You can create like $10 million of salary cap space right now by paying CeeDee Lamb. And for all you got to pay Lamb and you got to pay Mikey and you got to pay Dak, the Cowboys are paying 2 players after this year more than $10 million per year. The Browns are paying 13 right now. So the cap issues, BS. Like there's nothing that's actually a problem if they simply handle themselves properly. So the perceived cap issues are not really there, quite frankly. We will talk Trey Lance here. I've seen several people suggest we'll trade him to Minnesota. We will talk about that because I have thoughts on it. But what do you think Dallas ends up doing? T for trade, K for keep. T for trade, K for keep. And Jenkins, just 1 year, $8 million deal to the Falcons for Justin Simmons. Literally right now. Very glad we got at the top free agents list there. Very, very glad on that front there. So what will Dallas do with Trey Lance? T for trade, K for keep. I think there is a correct answer. I will hold off what I think that correct answer is until later in the show, but I do think there is a correct answer there. So I will hold off on that. But keeps from Brian Perry, Stephen Goltz, Melvin Morgan, Ethan Bennett, Jacoby Mitchell, Marvin Guzman, Alan Marvetts, a.k.a. the Wild Buck, Jay Business, Brian Hayes, all typing in their T's. Ecuador Man says K. Jenkins says trade for a 4th. Calvin says keep. Danelle says keep. Ackfish is a K. Looks like Clancy. There's an L and an X in there. That's with no vowels, so it's kind of weird. NFL Master, Eddie Joe say keep. Let me sip some water here. Need it for the illness. All right, we will preview Cowboys versus Raiders on today's show as well. So give me your score predictions for this upcoming matchup. Cowboys, Raiders. Mention who you got winning since, the Raiders like a 6.5, I think it is. 6.5 point favorite. It's a lot. So score predictions. Cowboys against the Raiders. I'll give some shout outs here, of course, as well. 9-7 Cowboys. It is doable. We kind of almost had it the other day. We weren't that far off against the Rams. I think the Raiders might play like Minshew a little bit longer. I think this is going to be a showcase game for Minshew, and then he's named the starter, Monday or something. That'd be my guess. Unless he throws 4 interceptions, which he normally doesn't throw that many picks. He just somehow gets all the luck in his favor. 17-10 Cowboys, 21-17 Cowboys. 21-14 Cowboys, 25-24 Cowboys. Raiders win 17-10, 11-16 Cowboys, or 11-6 Cowboys, excuse me, which almost like a record prediction. 20-10 Cowboys, 28-20 Raiders win. Buddy Bear says 99-0 Raiders, but he's biased. Hey, at least being honest about it. Also, it's the preseason, so no one really cares about the wins there. 2013 Cowboys, 17-10 Cowboys, 17-6 Cowboys, 10-7 Cowboys. So we'll see. The Raiders are favored because I think they're going to play their better players longer. That'd be my guess. Now, if you want us to start today's show, then like the video. The offer still stands. If we get our 10-ish minutes into the show and we're at a 50% like ratio, I'll do a shot, even though I don't feel good. But didn't get there. In fact, we weren't even a third of the way there. We were not very close. So be in the habit. Every Cowboys Report video you click on, like it. First thing you should do, just get in the habit of it there. Make it easy. And then maybe we'll get there one day. And it'll be a free bonus shot there. So if you haven't already, please like the video for today's live show. Coming up on today's live show, a lot of different updates we'll discuss here. Notably roster moves for the Dallas Cowboys. They need to make 4 total, or I guess 2 additional ones with the moves they've made. The 4th one might not be announced today. We'll see on that front. Maybe we'll have to refilm the outro in the middle of the show if we get news on it, but I kind of have an idea for what it's going to happen. We'll talk CeeDee Lamb, Trey Lance, injury updates too. A mailbag. Get your questions in right now via hashtag Cowboys or by super chatting. And we'll preview the Cowboys-Raiders Week 2 preseason matchup. All coming up here live on the Cowboys Report. Before we get into today's show, the most comments winner, as promised from one of our recent videos, was Johnny Henry. So let's up the ante and run it back one more time. Beyond just the shout out, whoever comments the most on today's show is going to get a free entry into our watch party raffle this upcoming Saturday for the Cowboys-Raiders preseason game. So flood the comment section. Johnny had about 130 comments, so got to comment a lot if you're going to win that free raffle entry. And you'll get a shout out too, of course. All right, coming up on today's show, some roster moves that are going to be coming and or already have come for the Dallas Cowboys. The latest on CeeDee Lamb, a potential Trey Lance trade. I have a lot of thoughts on that. And injury updates to begin and end the show. So first up, the two more new ones that came during Cowboys practice today. Brandon Cooks left practice early today with what has been termed knee soreness per Nick Harris. Reportedly not a major concern. Sounds like he's fine. And but near as I can tell, this wasn't a he got hurt during a drill. More of it was bothering him before the drills got going. So it wasn't like there was a non-contact or anything like that. Walked off the field. It wasn't carded. So I doubt you're not going to see him this week, obviously. He's not going to play in the preseason game. We'll see if he's out there the next time the Cowboys practice after that game, but doesn't seem too severe there. Also okay is Donovan Wilson. He and Deron Bland collided on a pass play. Sounded like Wilson banged knees. He got checked out and actually came back during practice. So he very much is okay. There's nothing to be concerned about there for Donovan Wilson. All right, over to some roster moves here that the Dallas Cowboys have been making. So if you haven't paid attention in the last 24 hours, Cowboys have done a lot of stuff relative for them. They traded for defensive tackle Jordan Phillips late last night, 10 p.m. Eastern time. We'll break that down a little bit. We broke it down in depth on an at-home video. Early this morning, 7 a.m., they signed Carl Lawson. Now, to make room for those two guys, they have to make two roster moves. One of them has already been made. They have cut defensive tackle Carl Davis. Now, that one maybe isn't a huge surprise given the fact that Davis wasn't playing very well. So Davis is on his way out. Phillips and Davis, that's a one-to-one replacement there. And to make room for Jordan Phillips, something else has to happen still. And as of filming, that fourth move has not been announced. They might announce it today, but Phillips and Lawson have not yet arrived into Oxnard, so they might be able to just wait a day there. Do not be surprised if it is putting Earl Bostic on IR ending his season. He is headed to Dallas to have surgery after he suffered a lower leg injury, ankle, shin, whatever it was, at practice against the Rams. So high expectation there that Earl Bostic ends up going on potentially IR. That would be the fourth move, and they'll cut anybody instead. All right, rapid fire. If you missed the breaking news last night, a 7th-round pick and Jordan Phillips coming to Dallas in 2025 for a 6th-round pick in 2025 to the Giants. So you needed a fatty. You got a fatty up front. Carl Lawson, who I wanted them to sign when they worked him out, along with Shaka Toney and Al-Qadim Muhammad. Cowboys then kind of changed their mind and eventually do bring in Carl Lawson. So good news on that front. I like that pickup a lot as we broke down this morning. I am not heartbroken over the loss of Carl Davis. I didn't think he was that great. Not everyone agreed on that one. That's perfectly fine, by the way. He was also a bit nicked up, so I am curious once the NFL transaction wire comes through if that is announced as waived injured or not, but it also just might be a straight-up release. So acknowledging it is August, and the splashy moves are few and far between even available, grade those roster moves by the Dallas Cowboys. A, B, C, D, or F at the pinned comment of today's show. Cowboys need a defensive end help. There's no way around it. They're putting Chauncey Golston more at defensive end, it sounds like. I feel a lot better about this room with Carl Lawson in town. I think he can be your Dante Fowler replacement. Tank Lawrence, Marshawn Nealon, Chauncey Golston can be more your run-stopping, focused defensive ends. Obviously, they help on pass rushing opportunities too, right? Micah Parsons, Carl Lawson, those guys are pass rushers. So we will keep an eye on that front there. Junior Fehoko is fighting for his roster life. Darrell Johnson's a bit nicked up right now. Tyrus Sweet, Al-Quadin Muhammad. You're going to carry 4 true defensive ends in Micah, Tank, and Lawson and Nealon, and maybe some rotational guys at DT. Of note, by the way, this happened more than 24 hours ago. It was during our at-home on joint practice takeaways. Cowboys did waive injured Shaka Toney, and I don't know why anyone would claim him off of waivers. So when that is finalized in like 15 minutes after we film this live, he's going to revert to IR. As part of that transaction, they did sign Cole Cabral, who I am curious where he plays. He's gotten reps at center in the UFL. 6'5", 304 is more of a tackle build than it is a center build. For purposes of balancing out the roster math on the depth chart graphic here, we'll put him at guard. You're thin at tackle right now because Tyler Guyton and Terrence Steele are not going to play the entire preseason, nor should they. Guyton probably gets his snaps ramped up. He's not going to be out there for 100 snaps or for even 50 snaps, So that leaves Awesome Richards and Matt Waletzko, and then you got to try Josh Ball over there. By the way, quick note on defensive tackle. Feel better about your nose guards. Mozzie Smith, Jordan Phillips, Justin Rogers. I think that works for your fatties on the interior. Chauncey Golson and Fehoko and Nealon, are they DEs or DTs? And if they're DEs, I have some anxiety about your 3-technique depth behind Osa Odigizua. So we'll see what happens on that front. Today's show is made possible by Rocket Money. Did you know that most Americans think they spend about $62 a month on subscriptions? However, the real number is closer to $300. That is literally thousands of dollars a year, half of which you might have forgotten about. That's where Rocket Money helps you out. It is a personal finance that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills. Also, you can grow your savings. Rocket Money will even try to negotiate to lower your bills for you. They have over 5 million users, and it's a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. Rocket Money can find a subscription you don't want and cancel it all in just a few taps. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel those unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. That's rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. That is rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. Let's hit the latest on CeeDee Lamb. Clarence Hill reporting the Cowboys are still not close enough on a CeeDee Lamb contract extension. Here's what Hill wrote. Per source, the Cowboys remain a few blocks away with their best offer not yet at $33 million annually. There is more to getting a deal done than that, as cash flow and structure are part of the process. Work still must be done in all areas, but there is no one on the Cowboys who doesn't believe ground will be made up and Lamb will be back with the team before the start of the season. Look, that is a similar refrain we've heard from anybody linked to the NFL that would actually have good insight there and not just saying stuff to say stuff or put fancy graphics of trading him to the Chiefs on social media. That nobody around the league thinks there's any other scenario than CeeDee Lamb is back with the Cowboys for week 1 with a big fat new extension, i.e., there is no trade coming. I have no concerns about that happening. I'm just annoyed it hasn't happened yet for an extension. And I'm not even going to enjoy it that much because we've waited too long for it. So prediction time. Will CeeDee Lamb get paid in the next week? So next Thursday, end of day, will a deal go down? Y for yes, N for no in the comment section of today's video. The Cowboys tended to say the same stuff. It's hard on us. We're trying to juggle Lamb and Dak and Micah. And I'm honestly tired of hearing that because when would have been a great time to work hard and get something done was a damn year ago or at least several months ago. I am frustrated that the Cowboys have dragged their feet in the manner that they have because it doesn't make any sense. They could have had this done a while ago. If they had worked as hard as they are now 5 months ago, maybe we wouldn't be here. Now, I will make note the Clarence Hill report does directly contradict the Pretty Ricky latest report. Says that the Cowboys have offered Lamb a 4-year contract worth $33.5 million per year. Now, obviously, the Lamb number, or the Hill number, and the rookie number are not the same. I do think there is a way that both of those reports are correct. And the way that potentially, this is all hypothetical, because one of them just might be wrong. It wouldn't be the first time someone's been wrong in this whole debate, and I think Ricky was probably wrong about the close part, might be right on the money part. I think it's maybe worth noting that Hill did not write largest offer is not yet $33 million. He wrote the best offer. So best offer might refer more to the guaranteed money and the structure of a contract from Lamb's perspective than best offer in terms of the average per year. Because I don't think the Cowboys ever really been that far off in the average per year figure. Now, I think from what we've seen so far, despite Ricky's really good track record on almost every other team, Clarence Hill might have the edge on the CeeDee Lamb conversation and news there. But I do think the average per year is going to come in probably around 34. Now, A.J. Brown's extension, by the way, is only a 3-year extension. And in general, every year you add to a contract, you want to put $2 million to it because that's how it typically gets balanced out with extra years and voidability, etc. So, again, I think you're probably closer to 35 than you are 32. Cowboys will eventually get there. The real tricky business is the guaranteed money. There's a big gap between $110 million guaranteed for Jefferson, $84 million guaranteed for A.J. Brown. The sooner this gets done, the better. Who here thinks that CeeDee Lamb in the next 3 years is going to fall apart and be a terrible football player? I don't. I am not worried about what the, haggling over the last $10 million guaranteed because I kind of think he's going to get it. Now, we will be live late night Cowboys Report After Dark style for the Cowboys versus Raiders preseason game. That is a 9 p.m. Central Time start. We will go live an hour before that. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. Let's have this Trey Lance to the Minnesota Vikings conversation. There's been plenty of speculation, hopes, ideas, theories, insert whatever buzzword you want to use there, on the Cowboys trading Trey Lance to Minnesota because they lost JJ McCarthy to injury. It makes sense, right? There are some reasons why this makes sense and some reasons why it doesn't make sense. First up on the it makes sense category. The Vikings had interest previously. They expressed interest, allegedly, in Trey Lance. Perhaps that's still there. Behind starter Sam Darnold, the backups are Nick Mullins and Jaren Hall as QB 2/3. Those guys ain't good. And in reality, Trey Lance might not end up being quarterback 2 in Dallas. As it sits currently, with still 2 preseason games to go, and that does matter, it's Cooper Rush has the lead over Trey Lance. So then the reasons why it doesn't work, right? Guys, Trey Lance hasn't been very good. So what's his role in Minnesota? Like, if Trey Lance can't beat out Cooper Rush as the backup QB, do we think he's going to win the backup quarterback job behind Nick Mullins and Jaren Hall, all while learning a new offense in a span of like a month? And not only that, the Cowboys want to bail on this one already. I'm not so sure because of what they've invested, and I think if Lance is going to develop, it's probably going to be here because instead of getting better and focus time on that, you would have to focus time on learning a new playbook. So I got more thoughts on this here. But what will Dallas end up doing, actually doing with Trey Lance? T for trade, K for keep, sound off in the comments of today's video. I have said this before and I'm going to say it again. A Trey Lance trade makes sense for Dallas if he doesn't start to get better and pick up his level of play. But in that scenario, who wants Trey Lance? And if Trey Lance continues to not be very good, who's going to trade for him? And if Trey Lance does showcase some good things, well, maybe you want to keep him. So you've had that kind of weird dichotomy of the reason why so many people I saw from Cowboys fandom were like, trade Trey Lance is because they don't want him anymore. So then why would the Vikings want him? I think that is a very real, logical issue that I'm having a tough time overcoming. All right, a couple quick rapid-fire injury updates here. We mentioned the Earl Bostic surgery one. Sounds like the injuries to Damone Clark and DeMarvion Overshown were very minor. Clark going to be ramped up. He's not going to play in the preseason game. Overshown was actually back out there in pads today. So good news on that front there for the Cowboys. Slightly banged up linebackers. All right, mailbag time here on the Cowboys Report. If you guys enjoyed my 500 or 15-minute show there, it was kind of a longer one. That's all my bad. Hashtag Cowboys or Super Chat to get on the show. Let me sip some water here. Ooh, there we go. All right. 2 ways. You can either use hashtag Cowboys, puts in the queue for producer Chris to find your question, or Super Chat. We don't wipe these 304s. We have your Super Chat. We'll get to that as part of the show as well. So again, hashtag Cowboys or Super Chat for the show. We got a super thanks to get going on today's video from Danny Whitney. I honestly did not like Marshawn Nealon's pass rush. I don't know if that's a typo or weird text, but I know what you meant, Danny. Saw him overcommit and get outran early in the game. I think there was like one kind of middling rep there from Nealon, but I thought overall he got some push. I think that's going to be his main thing. So I don't know how much he's going to play in the preseason overall. Maybe you see more in week 2, but I think for expectations, probably met him. From Tyson Cates, thanks for providing great up-to-date Cowboys news seemingly anytime news breaks. I get a lot of news packed into a short time frame. Again, thanks. I can't really do a better sub-read than that one, Tyson, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And if you agree with Tyson, or if you think that that is something that you would like to have on your YouTube feed, hit that sub button, youtube.com/CowboysTV. When Cowboys news happens, we have you covered. Do I like that they break news at 10 p.m. Eastern and 7 a.m. Eastern? No! I wish they would be a normal team and do stuff in normal business hours so that we can have the graphics on screen for a breaking news signing. But when it happens, we'll break it down for you. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button, youtube.com/CowboysTV. Curtis David says Trey Lance to the Vikings. Again, we kind of discussed this on our news and rumor show the other day. Look, I don't really think it's all that likely. I would be surprised if a trade actually went down, because it takes 2 parties to make a trade. And I know there are many Cowboys fans out there who are like, sure, yeah, let's go ahead and move on and trade Trey Lance. I don't want him here anymore. Well, if that's the case, and I get it, because he didn't look very good in the first preseason game. It's fine. Okay. The follow-up I have here is, well, then why would a different team want him? Why is another team going to trade for the guy that you don't want anymore? Now, maybe you're a good GM and you can convince him, okay, or maybe he looks good in week 2 or week 3 and it starts to make more sense there. But then if he looks better, do you actually want to trade him? So, like, I would be cautious to be like, yeah, it's easy to do. I don't know if there's a lot of interest in Trey Lance right now. You won the bidding war the first time. So we'll see. So what's your opinions on what you want to do here? Do you want to trade Trey Lance? Y for yes, N for no at the pinned comment of today's show. Y or N? Skeptical fan, I think we still need one more defensive tackle. I wouldn't mind one more 3 technique. That defensive tackle depth chart, I think it's fine at run stopper, right? You have now Jordan Phillips. You have Mozzie Smith. You have Justin Rogers. Maybe not even in that order, by the way. So I think you're fine at 3 at 1 technique, that nose guard. 3 technique, it's Oso Odighizuwa, and sounds like they're playing Chauncey Golston more on the outside. Like, I don't like that grouping necessarily. So you're an injury away from Osa from being in really bad shape up front. Fan also wants to know if I missed the injury updates. Seems like it's mostly positive. Brandon Cooks, minor knee soreness. Donovan Wilson banged his knees, fine. Earl Bostic needs surgery. That one came out earlier on Thursday. Damone Clark, minor knee issue. He's fine, it sounds like, for like an actual game if Daddy plays this preseason. DeMarvion Overshown, a little bit nicked up with a hip pointer, but he should be fine there as well. From Barry Robbins, would you trade for Robert Woods? I don't think I need to go get a veteran wide receiver right now as long as my guys stay healthy. CeeDee Lamb is going to be here for week 1. He's obviously a superstar. I like what you have so far in Brandon Cooks as long as he stays healthy. Jalen Tolbert's flashed. Jalen Brooks has flashed. Kevontae Turpin has a role. And if anything, I might consider, okay, how do I get my other receivers on this rush? Do I find room for Jalen Cropper? Does Ryan Flournoy impress in these final couple preseason games? Does Tyron Billy Johnson earn a role? I don't think you need to add a veteran wide receiver unless something happens. And if something happens, okay, we can revisit that whole conversation. But I think right now you're in a pretty good spot with your wide receiver depth in your youth. All right, so name a player. Keep it realistic. Don't put Patrick Mahomes in there. That's not feasible. Name a player who you want to trade for. From Eddie Joe, have you checked out New York Jets backup defensive tackle Leonard Taylor? Worth a look in a conversation. What would it cost? Probably not too much. Leonard Taylor was an undrafted free agent out of this year's class, and it was not so much a pure talent perspective with Leonard Taylor. He was a 5-star recruit for the Miami Hurricanes. The problem was he never lived up to expectations. And for whatever reason, I think there were some coachability things that helped lead to him falling undrafted there. If Taylor looks good in the preseason, which he did look good in week 1, if that continues, I don't think the Jets make him available. Because then it's Quentin Williams, Javon Kinlaw, Solomon Thomas. I think they'd probably make room for Leonard Taylor. So, and Dallas could have gone after him in the undrafted free agent cycle too, and I don't know if they really did there. So it's a good name, but I'm not sure there's going to be a ton of feasibility and interest there. From Brian Perry, will the Cowboys sign Dak this season? I don't know. And I know that, they tell you got to have answers to every question on Sports Talk. I don't know what the answer is. I wish I did. I don't know what they're going to do. My gut tells me no, because they've kind of set themselves up for failure in this whole situation 3-4 years ago when they did the deal the first time around. So I have my doubts that they get that deal done. We'll see. Daniel M. I love the Jordan Phillips and Carl Lawson pickups for the defense. Adds rushing depth in those spots. Now we need Khalil Herbert and from the Bears and David Bakhtiari in free agency. Love the idea of Herbert. Roschon Johnson's been a bit nicked up. That might make it a little bit less likely, but I would love to add him. I think he could be your lead back in a committee, lead committee back. As for Bakhtiari, if he wants to come be a backup, I am down. But that would be a tone change from David Bakhtiari. He told Adam Schefter he didn't want to be that guy. He wanted to be the guy for a team. Well, I'm not benching Tyler Guyton. I want him to play. So if Bakhtiari wants to come be a backup, cool, let's ride. But I don't know if that's what he wants to do. Now, you guys can get your own Cowboys turnover chain by going to chatsports.com/Cowboys chain. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. It is chatsports.com/Cowboys chain. Do make note, it is the navy chain as opposed to the silver chain, but it's potato as far as I'm concerned. It is on sale, by the way, as of filming this, so you can get it for about 25% off. Chatsports.com/Cowboys chain. From Dallas, record thoughts. I say 11-6 and win the division. That's probably on the more positive outcome spectrum. I think 10 wins and finish second in the division. And look, there's a chance Philadelphia falls apart. Because most teams aren't replacing both coordinators in the same season because they fired them and then go on to win the division. That's only a bad sign. So they got a chance to, but there's also the NFC curse that exists out there. I think they got worse overall this year, and that raises concerns for me. From Robert Vasquez, I think one more true 3 technique behind Oso would solidify our defensive line. Are there any final cut candidate names you have your eye on? I haven't seen a bunch of good options that are out there. Somebody might get cut, but I think 3 technique is harder to find than 1 technique. It's because, pass rushing from the interior is super, super valuable. Maybe somebody gets cut. I'll keep my eye out, but I don't I don't see any obvious, that guy's going to get cut names that would interest me. No, somebody probably will, but we'll have to wait and see. From Tyler, in a perfect scenario where Dallas drafts a new QB, which QB in the 2025 class or beyond would be the best fit in Dallas? Someone's got to impress me. Like, I think Carson Beck probably has the narrow edge over Shedeur Sanders and Quinn Ewers for QB1, but like, those guys got work to do. All three of them do. Arch Manning might be great. I don't know how good he is. He's played like 8 snaps. So checking again in 4 months, and I'll have a better answer for you. But especially for 2025, the really good guy, like if one of those guys impressed, like let's say Shedeur Sanders is a balls out, looks awesome at Colorado, or Carson Beck does it, or Quinn Ewers does it, or somebody else ends up emerging, that guy's going to go top 5, top 10. So how am I getting a top 5, top 10 pick without then depleting my roster to go get the QB when I could have just kept the roster and paid my current one? Like that's like kind of why I was mad with the process this offseason, because if you wanted that guy, you should have tanked now. Because trying to do the day 2, day 3 picks mindset hits or misses a hell of a lot more than it hits. That's why I don't like where they're at QB-wise. From Travis, is OT a sneaky need now for Dallas? And if so, who are the targets? I think they kind of want to see how awesome Richards looks as the swing tackle. He might play left tackle and right tackle in this preseason game. At least going to get a lot of run at left tackle. But yeah, I think it kind of is a sneaky need. Even just to get through the preseason. That's why they signed Cole Cabral, who no one had ever heard of. The issue is, good swing tackles don't become available very often because, teams need those guys. And there's not enough of them in the NFL. So what position do you think the Cowboys are more likely to get help at? We're not including Cole Cabral at offensive tackle here, though. OT or running back. So OT for offensive tackle, RB for running back. Let me know in the comments of today's show. Buffalo Black, what are the expectations for Zeke this year? I suppose it depends on who you ask. My expectations are this. I want him to be efficient in short yardage. I am going to pay less attention to the average yards per carry and more to the success rate for Ezekiel Elliott, because I think that's going to be his ideal role, is finish off drives in the red zone, get the short yardage stuff, still turn 1-yard gains into 3-yard gains, etc. I would love to get some explosive plays, but I don't know how real it is at this point in his NFL career. Don't be a liability in pass protection, which I think is for many backs just the bar to clear there. There's been 3 times in camp on like read options or straight up handoffs that Zeke's fumbled. So stop that, which I think is a pretty easy bar to clear. And I don't want to overwork him at this point in his career. Like if he's getting 200 touches, I think something bad happened, or it was bad decision making. Because I don't think there's a realistic expectation of him winding back the clock and looking like 2016 Zeke. Like that's not going to happen. But if he can be efficient and he can get what I need to get in short yardage, that is a win for me. From Daniel, I don't just want to get old Miles Sanders. He's close to being washed up. Would Javonte Williams from the Broncos be available? Maybe he makes sense for Dallas. He's not going to be available. He's going to be Denver's number 1 back. I know there were was like, maybe it's Samaje Perine or Javonte Williams. And like, I thought that narrative was funny. Like, there's one spot for Javonte Williams or Samaje Perine. Who knows who it's going to go to? Obviously, the better running back is Javonte Williams. Like, what are we doing out there, Denver? Perine's going to end up in Cincinnati as the 3rd back again. Watch, or the 4th back. Like, Javonte's not available, I don't think. And after that, you go from there. From King Rizak, do we target a top back in next year's draft? I love Donovan Edwards, Ollie Gordon. Is that a possibility for us? We think, yeah, I think it is. Gonna have Trayvon Henderson out of Ohio State. Gonna have Ashton Jeanty out of Boise State. Gonna have Quinshon Junkins out of Ohio State. It's a really promising running back class in that late round 1, round 2 range. I think you can definitely find somebody in that grouping. So will the Cowboys win a preseason game this year? Y for yes, N for no. 2 quick questions I want to mention here, and then I want to mention, did We Don't Wipe These 304 Super Chat not come through? Message Sam, Brett, and James later but it was doing the same stupid thing of YouTube being dumb. So We Don't Wipe These 304s. I'll mention your other Super Chat. It says Josh Ball looked elite. # Operation White Lie. Thank you. Not Operation White Lie. At guard, he looked a lot better on the rewatch. He also got smoked by Jared Verse in their one practice trip at left tackle. So maybe he just can't play tackle. Maybe he's a guard. Hamilton asked about a reset year for Coach Belichick, new QB if he doesn't like Dak. That's kind of my issue with the whole Belichick theory. Bill Belichick does not want to reset. Bill Belichick, if he's going to come back and coach football again, he wants to go get the record for most wins. 73-year-old Bill Belichick does not want to run a rebuild. That's not what he's interested in doing. And by the way, he loves Dak Prescott. He's made that very clear in multiple press conferences there. And then there was a question on Devon Achane. You ain't getting him either. You ain't getting him either there. So, briefly on the Super Chat menu, since I don't feel good, we haven't pushed it too hard, but $20 for a shot, $50 for the beer bong, $100 for the bong, slap, and shot combo, $500 for a custom Cowboys jersey. Let me get a sip of water here. There's caffeinated products in there as well. Still waiting the transaction wire. Making sure I haven't missed anything beyond what had been previously reported. So, nope, we're good on that front. All right. It's fine. Let's get to our preseason preview then. Cowboys and the Raiders. Now, if you want the Cowboys to beat the Raiders, even if it is just the preseason, like the video for me right now. We have the science to prove it. The more likes we get, the more likely it is that the Cowboys take down the Raiders in Week 2 of the NFL preseason. The Cowboys are back on the road, and it is it is an after dark edition of the Cowboys Report. It might be chugging Red Bulls for that live stream there. Raiders are a 6.5-point favorite at home. That over-under has jumped since last time we discussed this game, up several points actually. It was like 35.5. Now it is 39.5. Raiders are probably going to play more of their starters than Dallas will, but there are several key players that I'll be keeping special eye on in this game. And you know who number one is. It's Trey Lance. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. My goal for Trey Lance this week, just be better. Be better than what you were last week. You know, if you didn't watch the JT O'Sullivan QB School breakdown, really informative stuff. A lot of similar stuff to what we had mentioned afterwards and during the game. The placement has to be better. The timing has to be better. I think there are times he's just late getting to it. And there are some nice throws he makes. The arm strength is there, but if you're late in the preseason, what's happened in the real games? And the Cowboys tested him. They were giving him real NFL passing reps, not just leaning on his legs and mobility. They did that a little bit. But I want to see Lance be crisper. I want to see more strikes. I want to see more big plays. There were plays left out on that field. Now, you're not going to make every play. But if you left, hypothetically, 15 plays out there, can we get that down to 10 this week? And then to 5. I think that progress is what we're looking for out of Trey Lance this week. Deuce Vaughn, barring a setback from his injury, he is going to give it a go in this preseason game. And that's a big deal for him. I think that Dallas last week basically didn't run the football, which I was not mad about because they didn't need to run the football. The running backs that were out there outside of Malik Davis, those guys weren't going to do a lot. Like they weren't going to be heavily involved. You know, Malik Davis got a couple carries. Rico Dowdle got 1 series. Cool. Deuce Vaughn is fighting for a roster spot, though, in a way that, Snoop Connor and Nathaniel Pete aren't. Maybe he's back there on special teams returns as well. Deuce Vaughn, again, he looked kind of nice in last year's preseason. So can he do it again? Can you get him involved and showcase him a little bit? I think it's possible. I think you'll see Royce Freeman might be healthy again this week, too. I doubt you see much of Rico Dowdle, if anything. I think you'll see some Malik Davis. You'll see some Deuce Vaughn. Maybe you put Deuce Vaughn in there mostly on third downs. Do you try him in slot receiver? They've kind of that a little bit too. I want to see how he's used and how he's deployed because this is a massive game for Deuce Vaughn to make the roster. If he struggles after missing so much time at camp, he's in a rough spot. So will Deuce Vaughn make the Cowboys roster? Y for yes, N for no in the comments of today's video. I'm trying to do a different different players from what we did last week. But I am going to put Ryan Flournoy back on here. Because he's got to be better. Like, it wasn't all Trey Lance's fault the Cowboys offense couldn't score. You had a bunch of drops too. Ryan Flournoy, there was a really good, clip, or not a clip, but the all 22 of that play. The ball probably shouldn't have gone to Flournoy. Like, they should have just done the swing. They had the math on that side of the field. But that hit Ryan Flournoy in the face. Got to catch that football. Next play, he fumbles. Got to be better. Flournoy is not guaranteed a roster spot. That height, weight, speed combo is very intriguing to me. But if you can't hold on to the football, if you're a pass catcher and you can't catch, I don't have any use for you. So I am not out on Flournoy, but I need to see a better game out of him this week. And look, Cropper and Tyree Johnson thought David Durden flash, Kelvin Harmon flash. Cool. Go make more plays. Next up is Josh Ball. And Operation White Lie continues to be in place here. I am curious where he plays. I still think PFF tends to grade Josh Ball a little bit too highly because I thought there were more than one bad reps that he had because there was a couple bad plays that he's faced the wrong way. He graded out super well on PFF. Now, because of all your injuries up front, because of the fact that you're down Earl Bostic and Chuma Adoga, and I don't know where Cole Cabral is actually going to play, and I saw Josh Ball get reps at left tackle against the Rams in the joint practice and got his butt kicked by Jared Verse. Is he going to stay at right guard, or is he going to get some left tackle reps or right tackle reps? That is worth monitoring. Because with Adoga banged up and going to begin the year on IR, that opens up a possible roster spot, especially as Nathan Thomas is still banged up. So your third string offensive line is kind of banged up right now. So I'm curious how those backups look and what's going to be a bit of a heavy rep game for them. How closely do you track your bank statements and credit card history? Are you out there combing through every single charge on a regular basis? Or do you just assume things are fine? I am the latter. Ain't no one got time for that. Ain't no one got time to check every single bank statement. It's 2024. Whatever. Now that I'm using Rocket Money, they do all that for me. I don't have to worry about it. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills, all so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has a total of 500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. So stop wasting money on the stuff you don't use, the stuff you don't want, the stuff you don't want to be double charged for. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. That's rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. It is rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. One more offensive player to watch. I'm going to put Tyler Guyton there. Sounds like he had pneumonia, which is wild. And that's why he was kind of like sick for so long. That's what Brian Broaddus had mentioned, or whatever it was. I thought he played very well against the Rams. I think he got tired in that second series, which he had to come in because Matt Lutzko needed an IV. Come on, Matt. Be better there, buddy. So I am curious how much he plays and how he looks. Because what I'm kind of hoping is, because it's the preseason, I kind of hope the Raiders, I don't think they're going to play Max Crosby, but can they play, Malcolm Kuntz? Can they play Tyree Wilson? And can those guys go against Tyler Guyton? That's like the two polar opposite spectrums of football players and skill sets. Like Tyler Wilson, if you don't remember him out of Texas Tech, is a mountain of a human being. Like he is a massive football player. Or sorry, Tyree Wilson, my bad. He is like 6'6", 280. Like he is just giant and massive and brings a very physical power skill set. Malcolm Kuntz is like 6'2", 250. He's a speed rusher. So I would like to get both those guys against Tyler Guyton and give him different styles and reps and everything. So score prediction for me between the Cowboys and the Raiders. Get your predictions and mention who wins as well but let me know who you think wins this Week 2 preseason matchup. All right, I'm going back to the Junior Fehoko well, because where the hell was he in that game? Junior Fehoko getting some outside defensive end reps and DT reps had 37 snaps. Did you notice Junior Fehoko on any of those reps? Did you? I went back and watched the All-22, and I had to okay, where is he? Are you a DE, a DT, or are you just stuck as a tweener, and we have no idea what to do with you? I want to see where he lines up, and can he do something positive? Because with the addition of Carl Lawson, I'm looking at DT for him. Chauncey Golson's playing more defensive end. He can also kick inside, but just like Marshawn Nealand. Is he going to be a full-time 3 technique for me? What is my plan for Viliami Fehoko? Is there a plan? There might not be. He might really be caught in a bad spot as a tweener. Position flex is great, but you got to be good at one of them. So I think Fehoko is fighting for his roster spot in this game. If he's a no-show again, I don't know. Who knows where he's going to be. You knew we were going to put Mazi Smith on this list again. I think that getting him more reps is key. I think between the off-season shoulder surgery, adding weight, the getting his conditioning up is a work in progress, that just is how it works. It is very tough to add weight and also be in better shape every day. It is a process. I think it's gotten better as camp has gone on. I know the box score did not credit Mazi Smith for a TFL. I don't care. That was a tackle for loss on the screenplay. That they are wrong. That was a clear as day TFL. So I want to see more positive plays from Mazi Smith in the context of what they are asking out of him. He's not going to be an impactful 3 technique. Take on double teams. He did a pretty good game of that. I think the one big run that they allowed when he was in there, that wasn't his fault. Willie Harvey Jr., who we'll talk about, has to fit the run properly. Now, whenever Cowboys news hits or games go on, whatever happens, we have you covered. We will be live for the Cowboys-Raiders game. We will have our post-game show and winners-losers on Sunday. So don't miss out. Hit that sub button right now. There was one very clear play where you got, I think it was Huggins and Mazi Smith. And I think, by the way, there were several reps where Albert Huggins got beat and 58-68 looked kind of similar, and they thought it was Smith. It was actually Albert Huggins who has issues. There was one play where Mazi, and there's a hole to the right of Mazi Smith because Albert Huggins gets duo blocked and cleared out. And Willie Harvey, if he fits the run, it is a gain of 2. Mazi did his job. Huggins really didn't. But Willie Harvey just went to the wrong gap. And run fits are important for this team. Because the Cowboys are going to play big boys on the interior. And they're not asking their defensive tackles to shed and get in the backfield and penetrate. They're asking them to absorb blockers and keep the linebackers clean. When the linebackers are clean, you then got to make the play. Harvey made some plays. He didn't make that one. And I think in that, there's 4 roster locks, Overshown, Kendricks, Clark, and Leofau. There's room for at least 1, if not 2 players. If he can be better, he can make the team. I am excited to see it because I think he'll be out there. Andrew Booth for the first time this season for the Cowboys. That is the traded for Vikings corner, part of the Nashawn Wright flip there. I don't know how up to speed he is in the playbook. He's been here for a week. Not a lot of time on that standpoint there. So we'll see where Booth fits, but Eric Scott will be out there. Kalen Carson, I forgot to mention on our injury roundup from the other day. He had a wisdom tooth issue, but he's fine. His mouth just hurts. So we'll see if he's out there or not, but I think they'll give plenty of reps to Andrew Booth in this upcoming game. Predictions. How many INTs did the Cowboys get against the Raiders? They had 4 against the Rams. Does the turnover chain get some more usage? Sound off for me in the comments of today's show. Finally, I'm going to go with Israel Mukuamu. Again, common trend on this list, guys that are fighting for a roster spot, right? Or new additions or youthful pieces. Mukuamu fighting for a spot, was banged up, had a groin injury. sounds like he's back. So I want to see, A, how he looks, also where he plays. Do they view him as a nickel? Do they view him as an outside corner? Do they view him as a safety? I think all of those things are worth monitoring because I think Mukuamu can be your number 5 safety, your number 5 or 6 corner, your number 4 corner on the outside, your number 2 or 3 corner on the inside, and a core special teamer. And that's got value. But it also puts you at the very back of your team's roster. All right, Cowboys legend voting. JW for Jason Williams. These are not actually good players. It's the bit. DH for Darren Hambrick. BC for Bobby Carpenter. ZT for Zach Thomas. JB for Jasper Brinkley. I forget who it was, but someone said, who cares about Junior Fayoko? I want to see Micah Parsons. Or I couldn't find Micah Parsons last week. Well, yeah, because he wasn't playing. That's why we do this list. To discuss the guys that are actually going to play. Micah ain't going to be out there. You can't win anything that matters in August. August 17th, can't win anything. There's nothing to be gained in terms of of playing your best players. Now, getting young guys reps, yes. You can lose stuff, though, on August 17th. Micah goes down, because you put him in a preseason game against the Raiders, and he got chop blocked and went down and snapped his ankle. Season's in major trouble. So I don't want to play my starters. Micah will not be out there. Guys that I need to see stuff from that I don't know what I have, play them boys. We will be live for the Cowboys-Raiders game coming up this Saturday. Do not miss out. Hit that sub button for more free Cowboys YouTube videos.